Chase Lee Hockey with the Blue Futon, and the third Sundance premiere movie I saw was Fresh. Was this movie fresh? Is it going to be rotten? Let's find out. That was too easy of an intro. So Fresh, what's it about? Well, it's a very simple premise. You know what? Online dating does suck. And I'm part of that suckiness too, because sometimes you get ghosted. Sometimes you go, oh, that's a cute lady. But then you realize, oh, what do you do? And you look her up, and the pictures do not match. But relationships are built on trust. So that's, you're not building trust at that point. Come on now. Just some trust in life. But she didn't go on a good date. She sees Sebastian, aka Steve, at the grocery store. Is it going to be a fairy tale ending of fruits and vegetables and cotton candy grapes? Or is it going to be a meaty carnivore and a downhill spiral into madness? So, with this movie, it is hard for me to give a review because there are so many mixed tones, messaging, scenes, and just stuff happening on screen. I will give the negatives though because I think this is more of a positive movie. The negatives for this movie is two things mostly. Weird dancing scenes and character arcs that are just kind of there, and you're like, I want to know a little bit of your backstory, which also leads to a pacing issue and the length. So with that, the first issue is the dancing scenes. There's just random dancing scenes in this movie. I understand the first one where they're meeting and oh, first love, let's dance on the dance floor, yeah, in your apartment. But there's one at the very end where they're like looking in the camera and they're doing this weird synchronized dance. I'm like, where'd you learn to practice that? Number one, like there's no time frame where you're like, we're gonna synchronize this dance. And then number two, just why? I don't understand. That was a good it felt like 7 minutes, but probably only like 3 minutes of the movie where I'm like, that could be cut. That could be on the cutting room floor. And then with that, some character arcs like Sebastian, aka Steve's wife, the bartender, and everything like that. There's just some mixed messaging with what is their backstory? Why do they do what they do? Especially like the bartender at the end. I know during the live Q&A, people are saying like, "Oh, what's the reason why?" Because he literally says, "Fuck, I've seen this movie before. Deuces." I mean, if you hear gunshots too, I'll do the same thing. Like, call the cops, see what happens. But then you see something with Sebastian Stan's wife, and you're like, "Oh, oh." And I'm guessing it kind of makes sense of why she's doing what she's doing, but what changed in that point, and it really doesn't tell at all. As well as at the very end of the movie, the Sebastian's wife has someone following her. So I just kind of want to know, is this devil group, this Illuminati group, how far does it go, and who has bodyguards? Is there a reasoning why? With that, then ends with the pacing. It is a long movie. There is some scenes where you're just like, okay, where are we trying to go with this? Come on. The second act really does that pretty decently because the first act, is her dating life, and then it is literally 30 minutes, then the credits happen. I think that is a good idea because that's when the movie changes, and that's what the director also said is kind of like 30 minutes is the dating life, but then after the 30 minutes, the hour and a half on, changes to a completely different movie, and that's where she decides to put the credits. The whole fresh, people's names, everything like that. And I think that's a smart choice. Then the second half, I would say, is more of a mystery of Noah's friend. Her actor's name is Jojo, but in the movie, it doesn't even give her name on IMDb. Anyway, she's kind of doing an investigating thing with her and the bartender of where is my friend in this whole story. Then the last half is kind of the whole revenge part of this house of horrors type of thing. The tone to the movie, the writing though, I have to give this almost an A because how this writer decided to make the comedy in this, because there's some funny shit in this movie, especially this movie. I'm not going to give the plot because it doesn't really give the plot in this movie, but there's this one person where she's in an elevator shaft and she falls out, and you know why she falls out during the movie, but it's just the sound effects and just the fighting is fucking hysterical. And it's supposed to do that weird off-putting humor of there's real shit going down, but we're gonna make it as fun as possible and just so fucked up. And just that comedy element to it just amps up the movie as a whole, where you're like, oh my god, that's funny, that's fucked up, that's funny, that's fucked up. And not a lot of movies are willing to go push that boundary anymore. And this one kind of decided to do it with everything happening on screen. So I got to give props to everything just with that as well. Like I said, the acting's pretty good. The character Daisy Edgar-Jones, the main girl, I checked her page. She does have a lot of movies. Of course, Sebastian Stan, on Winter Soldier. There's a lot of no-name actors in this movie, but you could barely tell because they were all playing their parts extremely, extremely well. So this is another one I had to sleep on. I didn't like it at first, but more I think about the themes and everything happening in the story, I do enjoy it, but there are just some weird dancing scenes, weird pacing as a whole. But I think fresh is a fresh time. Ha ha ha. You do not have to wait long to watch this movie, however. It is going to get released on Hulu on 4 March 2022. It already has a Searchlight backing. So you have to wait maybe 6 to 7 weeks to actually watch this movie at home on Hulu. So overall, like I was saying, fresh. It is a fresh time. Good directing, good writing, good acting, good story. It does put a little twist on it because I was expecting it to be more like Raw, but this goes more deep dive into, Armie Hammer stuff maybe, and who knows, right? But is there a political agenda to this? No. Is some of the dialogue, quote unquote, you could call it Loki? No. I mean, yeah, there are some scenes, but there's also some scenes where it's like, nah, don't go there because this shit's real. We don't have to dive deep into that stupid bullshit politics we're going into. So, actually, more I think about this movie, more of a sleeper, I kind of like it more sleeping on it. So, Fresh will receive a 4 out of 5 with Futon. It was at 80%. So, let's see the critics' news scores gave this one. So, actually, the critics, there are 4 of them that probably were in the screening with me. No audience. Let's see what the critics gave it, though. All 4 of them. So, we have 4 Fresh, 4 out of 5, a 5 out of 5, an A, and person that doesn't do it. But interesting. A perfect movie. This ain't a perfect movie. I'll give it that. 4 out of 5, me and this guy, the AU review kind of agrees. It is a good time, but there are some weird scenes where you're just like, how do you choreograph that when you're in there? Oh, and then taking the butt. That's all I'm going to say. Taking the butt. I don't know if that was supposed to be funny, but I fucking laughed. So, 100% or 80, Chase Hockey with the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about this Booftonian-topia. Your Booftonians. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. And it does make you think, though, about, could you do it? People had to do it when they survived on a mountain. There's that one story about the plane crash with that team, of 70 people being stranded. Survival of the fittest. Survival of the fittest.